And I find the Calvinistic view less plausible, James, because it says that in any situation, it is God who actually moves the will of the creature to do evil, and therefore makes God the author of evil.
So two things about that. First, that's not what Calvinists believe, and I'm sure White will clarify in a moment. I mean, hopefully he does.
So in this video, you see William Lane Craig being called out for not representing Calvinism correctly and saying that it makes God into the author of evil. And that accusation kind of gets thrown towards Calvinists a lot, and they typically don't respond well to it. They don't think it's warranted. They think it's blatantly untrue. And I wanted to discuss, well, why would William Lane Craig bring up something that was completely baseless and totally untrue, total straw man? So in this video, I wanted to show, why do non-Calvinists think that the Calvinist God makes God into the author of evil? Alright, first up is from the London Baptist Confession of Faith from 1689. This is chapter 3 on the eternal decree. God hath decreed in himself from all eternity by the most wise and holy counsel of his own will, freely and unchangeably, all things whatsoever comes to pass, yet so as thereby is God neither the author of sin, nor hath fellowship with any therein, nor is violence offered to the will of the creature, nor yet is liberty or contingency of second causes taken away, but rather established, in which appears his wisdom in disposing all things, and power and faithfulness in accomplishing his decree. So it sounds like they're saying, well, God has done everything, he has decreed everything, but he's still keeping intact the free will of creatures, and he's not getting rid of like secondary causes, which I'd like to get into, but that's good for right now. We'll just leave it there. The problem really becomes crystal clear when you read a little further on. In another paragraph it says, although God knoweth whatsoever may or can come to pass upon all supposed conditions, yet hath he not decreed anything because he foresaw it as future, or as that which would come to pass upon such conditions. I have talked to people who think that they know what Calvinism is, who have told me that, well, God knows what people will do or people would do, and so it's not really that he's like writing out what their actions will be. That is actually directly in contradiction with what the confessions say, that God decrees everything, that it comes from his own wise and holy counsel, and that it is specifically not based off of what he foresees that they either will do, or even what he sees that they might do or would do in certain situations, that it only comes from his will. And so it's truly the case that when a creature does something, they are acting out the will and the script that God has written for them. Now, all this becomes odd when we start looking at certain passages like Jeremiah 19, where God literally says that in response to the Israelites offering their kids to Baal and going up on the high places, he says, I did not command this, nor decree this, nor did it enter my mind. And the Calvinist has to say, well, God didn't decree it. Well, he didn't decree it in the sense of commanding it, and he didn't want them to do it in his like prescriptive will, but it actually did flow from his wisdom and his character from all of eternity, that they would engage in the particularities of those activities, and that it literally came from the mind of God. It originated there and then was played out through the actions and the intentions of the creatures. And so, whereas just on its face, it seems like this Jeremiah passage is saying that this didn't come into my mind to even ask you guys to do this type of thing. Where is this coming from? This evil is being generated from your own wickedness and your own wicked intentions. The actual teaching of Calvinism, where it says that God decrees all of everything and that it only comes from him without regard to what he knows about creatures, the conclusion of that is that God is the source of evil intentions in people and in even Satan, and any evil that happens, that he is the evil, he is the source of the evil intention. And that is where people like William Lane Craig find issue, or Leighton Flowers, and say it looks like the Calvinist God makes God into the author of evil, even though in their confession it says it doesn't make God the author of evil. But it seems like the logical conclusion of what you're saying does make God into the author of evil. And so I wanted to bring this video and hopefully bring some clarity to why non-Calvinists think that Calvinists make God the author of evil, even though they explicitly say they don't.